When I moved to a new country for my studies, I thought the biggest challenge would be learning the language or getting used to the food. I didn't think I would meet something I couldn't explain. I stayed in a student apartment for 2 years. It was meant for international students like me. At first, everything was normal. I made new friends, learned the bus schedule, and tried to enjoy my new life. But strange things started happening. Slowly, quietly, and then, all at once. My apartment had several rooms. I shared it with 3 other girls. One of them, let's call her Hannah, had a 2-bedroom all to herself. One evening, while we were drinking tea in the kitchen, Hannah said something strange. "I think someone's sleeping in my room," she said, laughing a little. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Every night, I see something, a shape, like a person lying on the other bed. I even hear breathing sometimes." We all laughed. Maybe she was dreaming, we said, or just lonely and imagining things. Hannah smiled, but didn't say anything else. I didn't think much about it after that. But over the next few weeks, more strange things happened. One night we had a small party. Some friends from the building came over. We were playing cards when suddenly, one guy, his name was Leo, screamed and jumped back. He looked so scared, his hands were shaking. "What happened?" we asked. "I saw something. Someone," he said. "There was a girl. Long black hair. She was peeking from around the corner, right by that room." He pointed to Hannah's room. Everyone got quiet. Someone laughed nervously, saying maybe he drank too much soda. But Leo wasn't joking. He stayed scared the whole night. He didn't even want to go to the bathroom alone. After that, more people told us strange things. One friend said she heard someone whispering in the hallway when no one was there. Another heard footsteps in the kitchen at midnight. We tried to find explanations. Maybe it was the neighbors. Maybe the building made sounds at night. But it became harder to ignore. Every week, something new happened. Still, I stayed calm. I didn't believe in ghosts. I thought people were just letting their imaginations run wild. I didn't believe until something happened to me. One night, my roommate Lisa said something strange at breakfast. "Did you hear that last night?" she asked. "No, what?" "I came home late. You were sleeping. But I heard breathing. Not snoring, just steady breathing from the living room. And then footsteps. I thought someone was awake, but no lights were on." I frowned. "You're probably just tired. It was late." Lisa shrugged. "Maybe." I didn't believe her. She was rarely home. Maybe someone else told her about the stories, and now her brain was playing tricks. But a few days later, I couldn't explain it anymore. It was a quiet afternoon. The sun was still out. My roommates were all out at class, and I had the place to myself. I made an early dinner and sat down to eat in my room. I was also on a video call with my mom. I told her about my day, how classes were going, and what I had planned for the weekend. Suddenly, I heard something, a sound from the living room. I stopped talking and listened. At first, it was quiet. Then I heard it again, a soft shuffle, like someone moving a chair. And then, breathing, slow, deep breathing, like someone was asleep, but loud, too loud for a quiet apartment. "Do you hear that?" I asked my mom. She shook her head. "Hear what?" "There's someone in the living room," I whispered. My heart was beating fast. I was sure no one else was home. The front door was locked. I had checked it when I came in, but the breathing was real. I could feel it somehow, like the air had changed. "Go check," my mom said on the call. "I don't want to," I replied. "What if someone's in there?" "You're being silly," she said. "Maybe it's the fridge." "It doesn't sound like the fridge," I said. But after a minute, I stood up. I didn't want to seem like a child. I opened my door slowly and looked out. The living room was empty, quiet, peaceful, like nothing had ever happened. I walked around the apartment. The kitchen was empty. The bathroom was empty. All the bedroom doors were closed, and I knew no one was inside. I checked the front door. It was still locked. I felt a little foolish. Maybe I really had imagined it. I walked back to my room and sat down in front of my laptop. My mom was still there, looking worried. I smiled and said, "See? Nothing." But she didn't smile back. "So, that wasn't your black-haired roommate who just walked behind you?" My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" I asked. "While you were checking, I saw someone walk past your room. I thought it was your roommate." I didn't say anything. I just grabbed my coat, left the apartment, and waited outside until someone else came home. After that, things got worse. We didn't feel safe in the apartment anymore. Even Hannah started sleeping in our room sometimes. No one wanted to be alone. We left lights on at night. We kept the doors open, but nothing helped. One day, Hannah finally told a teacher what was going on. She didn't tell everything, just that people were seeing and hearing strange things. The teacher didn't seem surprised. She just let out a deep sigh. "I was hoping no one would say anything this year," she said softly. "What do you mean?" Hannah asked. The teacher looked at her and said, "Some years ago, 4 girls died in a fire. The room above yours? That's where it happened." We were shocked. A fire? 4 girls? We looked it up online, and it was true. There were old news stories about the fire. It happened late at night. They couldn't escape in time. The room above ours had been empty since then. That night, none of us could sleep. We kept the lights on. We stayed in the same room, whispering about what to do. No one wanted to move, but no one wanted to stay either. Some of us tried to pray. Others just stared at the ceiling, waiting for morning. Even after knowing the truth, the strange things didn't stop. Some nights we still heard noises. We saw shadows. One time, the kitchen light turned on by itself. Another time, all the cupboard doors were open when we woke up. By the time the year ended, we were all ready to leave. We didn't even say goodbye to the apartment. We packed quickly and never looked back. Now, when I think about those 2 years, I remember the fun times, the new friends, the late night snacks. But I also remember the fear, the breathing, the shadow in the other bed, the girl with the long black hair. Some people say ghosts don't exist. I used to be one of them, but not anymore. Because sometimes the past doesn't stay buried, and some things don't stop just because you leave. Nair, Haunted by Truth. When I was in 7th grade, my family lived on Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan. Our house looked normal from the outside, but I truly believe something dark lived inside. Something I still can't explain, even after all these years. It happened one summer night. I woke up very early in the morning. I remember the time clearly. It was around 2 a.m. I didn't feel scared at first. I was just awake, maybe a little tired, and I grabbed my phone like most kids do. I scrolled through it for a while, then decided I should try to get a couple more hours of sleep. My bed was against the wall. Next to it, there was a large mirror. I didn't like that mirror. It always made my room feel strange, but I didn't think much of it back then. That night, I turned onto my right side to try and get comfortable. When I laid on that side, I was facing the mirror. I closed my eyes, hoping to drift off to sleep. But when I opened them again just for a moment, something was there. In the mirror behind me was a shadow. It wasn't just a shadow from the room or from some object. This was different. It had shape, like a man standing tall behind me. I couldn't see all of it clearly because the mirror only showed from about the waist up. But what I could see looked wrong, very wrong. The figure was black, darker than the rest of the room. Its edges were smoky, like it was made of mist or smoke, but it stayed in place. I couldn't see a face. There were no eyes, no mouth, just a shape of a head and shoulders under what looked like a cloak. or hood. I stared at it, frozen in place. Fear hit me like a wave. I've never felt anything like it. Not before, and not since. I wasn't just scared. I felt like something evil was in the room with me. Like I was being watched by something that didn't belong in this world. I couldn't move for what felt like a full minute. Then my body finally listened. I threw off the blanket and ran to my parents' bedroom. I didn't say much. I just curled up at the foot of their bed by a little wooden bench we had there. My dad woke up and asked what was wrong, but I just said I had a nightmare. I couldn't even speak the truth at that moment. How could I explain what I saw? I stayed in their room the rest of the night, and I stayed there again the next night, and the night after that. In fact, I slept on that bench every night for the rest of the summer. During the day, I acted like nothing happened. I smoked cigarettes and got into fights, trying to be the tough kid, trying to be cool. But at night, I became someone else, a scared kid who couldn't face his own room. Eventually, my dad got frustrated. He didn't understand why I was still afraid. He thought something else was going on, so he took me to see a therapist. He thought maybe I was making it up, or maybe I had a mental health problem. But I knew what I saw. I wasn't confused. I wasn't dreaming. People have told me since then that it was probably sleep paralysis. But I've had sleep paralysis before. This wasn't that. With sleep paralysis, your body is frozen. You feel pressure, you see shadows, but you can't move. That night I could move. I ran. I left the room. I wasn't frozen. I was awake and terrified. That thing was real. I know it. Years passed. I moved away from Okinawa, grew up, and started working as an electrician. Life felt normal again. Sometimes I would think about that summer, but I'd push it to the back of my mind. That is, until something strange happened again. Something I still can't fully explain. It was a regular workday in Washington, D.C. My crew was working at the Smithsonian Castle. It's the original Smithsonian building, built back in the 1800s. Beautiful from the outside, but inside, especially in the basement, it felt different. Older, heavier. The castle was under renovation, and we were running service cables in the basement. It was hot, dusty, and quiet. We were almost done when I had to enter a nearby room to finish some wiring. That room was completely dark, no lights at all. We had already turned off the breaker coming from the panel earlier that day, so I knew there was no power going into that room. I stepped inside, careful not to trip over anything. That's when I saw it. For just a second or two, the entire room lit up with a soft orange glow. Not bright, not like a light bulb. It was more like firelight, but there was no fire. The glow filled the room, just enough to make out the shapes of the walls and the tools around me. And right in the middle of it, I saw something float by. It was an orb, a glowing orange ball, maybe the size of a baseball. It moved slowly across the room, almost like it was floating on water. Then, just like that, it disappeared. The room went completely black again. I stood there blinking, trying to understand what I just saw. I looked around and asked the guys nearby, "Did you see that orange light just now?" One of them said he thought maybe he saw something, but no one really reacted much. I didn't mention the orb. I didn't want to sound crazy. This time, I didn't feel scared. It wasn't like the thing in Okinawa. This didn't feel evil. It felt strange, like a warning, or maybe just a sign that something else was there with us. I still think about that orb a lot. I try to explain it. Maybe it was a reflection, or maybe my eyes were playing tricks. But deep down, I know it wasn't a trick. It was real, just like the shadow man in my mirror. These two events are burned into my memory. One filled me with terror, and the other filled me with wonder. But both reminded me that this world has mysteries we can't always explain. Maybe science will find the answers one day. Maybe not. All I know is I've seen things I'll never forget. People ask me if I believe in ghosts. I tell them this: I'd bet my entire existence on what I saw that summer in Okinawa. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't paralyzed. I was awake, and something else was in the room with me. Something that didn't belong. Maybe the world is full of these things, waiting in the shadows, just outside the edge of our understanding. Maybe we all see them at some point. Maybe we just don't always believe what we see. But I do, because I lived it. About 5 or 6 years ago, I lived in a house where strange things often happened. I never believed in ghosts or anything like that. Not really. But that house made me question everything. The things I saw, heard, and felt were too real to ignore. It started with small things, but it quickly turned into something much bigger. Something that stayed with me, even now. One night, I was sleeping deeply when a loud bang woke me up. I looked at the clock. It was around 3 a.m. At first, I thought maybe a shelf had fallen, but then I saw it. My closet door was wide open. Before I went to bed, I had leaned my laundry basket, guitar case, and some other things against that door. There was no way it should have opened. But now all those items were scattered across the floor, like someone had thrown them. My dog was in the middle of the room, just sitting there. He wasn't barking. He wasn't scared. He was just staring at the open closet door as if he was expecting something to come out of it. I called to him, but he didn't move. That night, I couldn't fall asleep again. I left the light on and watched the closet until morning. Things didn't get better after that. In fact, they got worse. During the day, I began hearing voices coming from the basement. At first, I thought it might be the neighbors or the TV, but the voices were too clear. Sometimes they were whispering, other times they were arguing loudly. But every time I went to check, no one was there. The basement was always empty. My dog, on the other hand, loved the basement. I'd often find him sitting down there by himself, tail wagging, looking up at something I couldn't see. He looked happy, like someone was playing with him. It creeped me out. Why would he be so cheerful down there when I felt nothing but dread? One evening, I was cooking dinner. It was just getting dark outside. My girlfriend at the time was supposed to come over, but she hadn't arrived yet. While I was stirring the pot, I heard her voice, clear and cheerful, say, "Hey," from outside the kitchen window. I smiled and looked outside, but no one was there. The street was empty. I even walked outside to check the front and back of the house. Nothing. No car, no footsteps, no sound. When I came back inside, my dog was hiding behind the kitchen table. He looked scared, ears down, tail between his legs. That's when I knew something wasn't right. Dogs know things. They feel what we can't see. That wasn't just my imagination. Something had copied my girlfriend's voice. But the scariest moment came one night after a small fight with my girlfriend. We had argued over something small, and we were both tired. Eventually, we made up and went to bed. She fell asleep quickly, but I stayed awake watching TV. I was still thinking about our argument when I started to feel sleepy. Just as I was drifting off, I felt a sudden tug on the blanket. It wasn't strong, but it was enough to wake me up. I looked around. My girlfriend was asleep, turned away from me. I thought maybe I moved the blanket by accident. But then it happened again. A gentle pulling motion, like someone was slowly trying to take the blanket off me. I lay there still, eyes open, heart racing. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to breathe. That's when I heard a sound. At first, it was just a soft, low grumble. It didn't sound human. It didn't sound like any animal either. It was just wrong. The sound grew louder. At first, I thought it was just the wind or something from the TV. But then I realized the TV was off. I had turned it off earlier without thinking. The room was silent, except for that strange noise. Then the noise changed. It wasn't a grumble anymore. It was a voice, deep, slow, and clear. It said, "Speak to me." I froze. I didn't answer. I didn't move. I just laid there pretending to be asleep. My girlfriend didn't wake up. My dog wasn't in the room that night. I was completely alone, or at least I thought I was. I never spoke back. I didn't know what would happen if I did. I didn't want to find out. After that night, I started sleeping with the lights on. I never heard that voice again, but the feeling of being watched never went away. Even during the day, I'd sometimes feel like someone was behind me, or that someone was just around the corner waiting. My roommates, who lived in the same house before I moved in, had strange stories too. One of them told me he often woke up to find things moved in his room. Books would fall off the shelf, drawers would be half open. Another said he saw a shadow walk down the hallway at night, even when he was home alone. None of us talked about it much. I think we were all trying to ignore it, pretend it wasn't happening. But deep down, we all knew something was wrong with that house. After I moved out, the strange things stopped. My new house felt calm, normal. No voices, no shadows, no whispers in the night. Even my dog was more relaxed. Whatever haunted that old place stayed behind. At least, I hope it did. I've had other strange experiences in my life, some not in that house. For a while, it felt like the paranormal was following me. I'd go to new places and still see or hear things that didn't make sense, but those moments weren't as strong or as frequent. Maybe that house was a center for something darker, something that needed attention. Or maybe it fed on certain people like me. I still don't have answers. I still don't know what wanted me to speak to it or why it chose that night. But I'll never forget how it made me feel. Cold, frozen, helpless. Like I was standing at the edge of something I wasn't supposed to see. People ask me sometimes if I believe in ghosts now. I don't know what to say. I just tell them this. I didn't believe. Not until that house. And now I'm not so sure what to believe anymore. If you like the video, please give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.